Picture this. You're standing in your own driveway on a sunny Tuesday morning, minding your business with a fresh cup of coffee, when two squad cars come screaming down the street like you just robbed a bank. The smell of burning rubber hits your nose right as Karen Whitaker, the self-crowned queen of Oak Ridge Meadows, starts leaping up and down in her designer heels, stabbing a manicured finger straight at your chest. "Arrest him," she shrieks loud enough to wake the dead. "He's destroying our community with that illegal fence." Illegal. The same fence that passed city inspection, followed every HOA guideline word for word, and cost me 3 months of careful planning after my wife Emily passed. Yeah, Karen had no clue my son Ethan was about to roll up in uniform and turn her little kingdom into a cautionary tale. My name is David Harlan. 57 years old, retired union plumber, 2 grown kids who actually like me, and a golden retriever named Buddy who still waits by the door every evening like Emily might walk through it any second. We bought our modest ranch house in Oak Ridge Meadows 8 years ago because Emily dreamed of a safe street where grandkids could ride bikes without dodging potholes. Cancer took her fast last spring, left me rattling around this place with nothing but memories and Buddy's snoring. The kids begged me to sell and move closer, but I couldn't let go of the lavender scent still lingering in the master bath. So I stayed. Thought the HOA was harmless, $1,200 a year to keep the common areas nice. Grass cut, no neon paint, no boats in the driveway. Basic neighbor stuff. Then Karen Whitaker decided the neighborhood needed her personal brand of salvation. She'd been president for 6 straight years because nobody else was crazy enough to want the job. 48, married to real estate lawyer Bradley Whitaker, drove a white Range Rover with plates that screamed, "Look at me." Their McMansion was a never-ending construction zone, always improving something, while Karen improved everyone else's life straight into misery. She patrolled the streets like a shark in Lululemon, clipboard in one hand, phone camera in the other, measuring grass with a literal ruler and timing sprinklers like it was the Olympics. Garbage cans 6 inches off. Violation. Holiday lights 1 day late. Violation. Your car parked at a disrespectful angle in your own driveway. Double violation and a strongly worded email at 6 a.m. It started with the fence. Last October, I finally built a simple 4-foot cedar privacy fence so Buddy could run free without me worrying he'd wander into traffic. I read the bylaws cover to cover, pulled permits, got 3 quotes, everything by the book. Fence went up Wednesday. Thursday morning, Karen's heels were click-clacking up my walk like Judgment Day. She stopped, measured the height with theatrical flair, and announced, "This violates our aesthetic harmony clause." I pulled out my copy of the rules and pointed to section 4.2. Fences under 4 feet need 0 approval. Karen's nostrils flared like a bull seeing red. "The board interprets the rules, Mr. Harlan. And right now the board interprets your fence as an eyesore." Translation: I'm the board, I make the rules up as I go, and you hurt my feelings by existing. 72 hours or $500 a day. That became her catchphrase. I showed her permits, receipts, city stamps, didn't matter. She called an emergency board meeting, just her and her 2 nodding minions on Zoom, and threatened to rewrite the rules retroactively. The fence became her white whale. Every single morning at 7 sharp, she'd march past, snapping photos from every angle like she was building a murder case. Every afternoon she'd remeasure, praying it had magically grown overnight. Neighbors started whispering. "Poor David," they'd say. But nobody wanted to cross Queen Karen. Not yet. December rolled around, and I figured the holidays might distract her. Emily always loved Christmas, warm white lights along the roof, a simple wreath, nothing gaudy. I was up on the ladder stringing LEDs when the familiar click-click announced her arrival. "Those lights are excessive," she called out, waving fresh violation papers she'd clearly pre-filled. I climbed down. "Excessive how?" "The Johnsons have inflatable reindeer that could guide Santa from orbit." Karen flipped pages like a deranged scholar. "The energy conservation guidelines clearly state," I stopped her. "Show me where that guideline exists." She smiled the smile of someone who'd already won in her head. "It's being drafted. $200 a day starting the 20th if you don't comply." Signed by her husband Bradley, attorney at law. The same guy whose firm conveniently got a cut of every fine the HOA collected. That night I took a walk. Karen's house looked like Vegas had thrown up on it. Thousands of multicolored lights, synchronized music blasting 3 blocks away, enough electricity to power a small town. Yet mine was the crime against humanity. I smiled again. Something in me clicked. I'd spent 30 years dealing with inspectors and bureaucrats who thought they were gods. I knew how this game worked. Check the actual rules, not the ones Karen invented in her sleep. I started a group text, Oak Ridge Resistance. 12 neighbors joined that first night. Anyone else getting Karen's holiday light special? Tuesday evening, 12 houses lit up together like a coordinated middle finger wrapped in Christmas cheer. Hot chocolate, kids laughing, families actually talking to each other for once. Karen's Range Rover came screeching around the corner like she was chasing a fire. But she couldn't ticket 12 houses at once without admitting she'd been playing favorites. And if she tried to enforce her fake rule on everyone, she'd have to pull her own light show down first. The look on her face when she realized the trap? Pure chef's kiss. The next morning, she struck back with code enforcement. Claimed my lights were a fire hazard. Inspector showed up, an old union buddy of mine. One look at my professional wiring, and he laughed. Whoever keeps filing these is wasting everyone's time. Then he dropped the bomb. Karen had filed 4 false reports on my address in the last month alone. That's when I realized she wasn't just petty. She was weaponizing city services, and if nobody stopped her, it would only get worse. January brought the leash law crusade. Karen formed the Pet Safety Committee, herself and her sidekick Martha. Buddy, 12-year-old Golden who wouldn't hurt a fly, was suddenly aggressive off-leash. Violation notice hand-delivered with a $300 fine plus mandatory doggy therapy. I started recording. Karen's face went nuclear when she saw the red light. That weekend I installed 4 security cameras, perfectly legal, only on my property. Monday morning the footage caught Karen trespassing to photograph Buddy's food bowl while her own Persian cat Snowball roamed free, using 3 neighbors' yards as litter boxes. Hypocrisy so thick you could spread it on toast. Bradley sent a cease and desist demanding I remove the cameras. My union lawyer laughed so hard he almost dropped the phone. Send me everything. This is textbook harassment. Turns out Bradley's firm got 15% of every fine Karen collected. They weren't enforcing rules. They were running a small-time shakedown. I organized a pet owner meetup in the park. 15 people showed up with dogs and horror stories. Karen had targeted every dog she didn't like, while Snowball lived her best life. Animal control investigated her complaints and found 0 problems. 3 neighbors filed counter-complaints about Snowball. Karen's first real L. But cornered animals bite hardest. March brought the Spring Beautification Initiative. Every yard had to meet her luxury garden standards by April 30th or face daily fines. $2,300 minimum using her 3 approved vendors, companies owned by Bradley's relatives, charging triple market rate for plants that would die in our climate. I researched native plants instead. Cost after city rebates, $380. Looked gorgeous, needed 0 water, supported butterflies. I started a bulk buy co-op with 8 families. Karen showed up with Bradley and their compliance coordinator to reject my plan. Native plants create visual inconsistency. Translation, they don't line our pockets. That night, I called the city water office anonymously and attached Karen's water-guzzling requirements. 3 days later, she got her own violation notice. Her sprinkler system was breaking 3 municipal laws. The irony was so sweet, I almost felt bad. Almost. April brought the records request. State law says any homeowner can inspect HOA books with 30 days notice. Karen tried the executive privilege dodge. My lawyer's demand letter worked magic. The envelope arrived Friday. What I found made my stomach turn. The HOA was bleeding money. $47,000 in landscaping contracts for work that was never done. $23,000 for a clubhouse renovation that was just fresh paint. Karen and Bradley had been skimming for years, manufacturing violations to keep the cash flowing. Insurance had lapsed months ago, every homeowner personally liable if anything happened. This wasn't incompetence. This was criminal. I called an emergency backyard meeting. 14 neighbors showed up. I laid the documents out like evidence in a trial. Dorothy, the retired accountant, whistled. This is systematic embezzlement. Linda, the paralegal, started researching state fraud statutes. We formed a real plan. Stop paying fake fines. Redirect money to a legal fund. File with the Attorney General. Demand new elections. For the first time in months, I didn't feel alone. We had evidence, we had numbers, and we had each other. May turned Karen feral. She started a Facebook smear campaign calling me a dangerous extremist, organizing an anti-HOA uprising. Then she filed a police report claiming I'd threatened her at the mailboxes. Except my cameras proved I never left my house that day. Next, she called my old union hall demanding they strip my certifications for intimidation. The rep laughed so hard he put her on speaker. She was filing 17 code complaints a month now, noise violations for mowing at 2 p.m., zoning issues because neighbors visited my house, even environmental complaints because I watered native plants with a hose. City inspectors were exhausted. One finally called me off the record. She's abusing the system. We're documenting everything. Then she hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on my family. The PI turned out to be an ex-cop who recognized Ethan's name. He called my son instead and spilled everything. Karen's history of running the same scam in 3 previous neighborhoods. Same playbook, same exit strategy when people fought back. Ethan forwarded the files. We now had proof this wasn't new. This was Karen Whitaker's career. June brought her masterpiece, an emergency community safety meeting, to vote me out of the neighborhood. Never mind that HOAs can't evict homeowners for following rules. Karen had convinced herself she was untouchable. The clubhouse was packed, 47 residents, largest turnout in history. She arrived early with charts, photos of my fence blown up like crime scene evidence, and a PowerPoint titled, "Protecting Our Values." Bradley sat beside her looking smug. A newspaper reporter showed up after Linda tipped him off. Karen hadn't counted on media. She launched into her tirade, voice dripping fake concern. This individual has organized systematic defiance, created a hostile environment, threatens our property values. When she finished, Linda stood calmly. Before we continue, I'm recording this for legal purposes. And Mrs. Whitaker, this meeting violates multiple state open meeting laws. Dorothy followed with the audit. She read every fake contract, every missing dollar, every relative who got paid for phantom work. The room went from stunned silence to angry murmurs. Neighbors started sharing their own stories. Pet fines, light fines, the works. Karen's face cycled through colors like a broken traffic light. When Dorothy finished, Karen did the only thing left in her playbook. She snatched her phone and dialed 911. There's a riot at the Oak Ridge Meadows clubhouse. Residents are making threats. Send multiple units. This could get violent. 47 people heard her say it. We were literally sitting in folding chairs drinking stale coffee. The most dangerous thing in the room was the reporter's pen. Sirens grew louder. 3 officers walked in expecting chaos. What they found was a polite meeting with documents. The lead sergeant scanned the room. We received a report of a disturbance. What's going on? Karen launched herself forward, pointing straight at me. That man has been threatening everyone. He organized this illegal resistance. The second officer turned around, badge gleaming, and my chest swelled with the kind of pride only a father knows. "Hi, Dad," Detective Ethan Harlan said with a small, professional smile. "What seems to be the problem here?" Karen's face went corpse white. Bradley looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Ethan kept his cool. "Ma'am, you called 911 reporting a riot and threats of violence. Can you specify exactly what threats were made?" Karen stammered, gesturing wildly at our group. They're disrupting the meeting, making accusations." Linda stepped forward with the folder. "Officer, I've been recording. Mrs. Whitaker called this meeting to evict Mr. Harlan. We presented evidence of embezzlement and years of false reports. Tonight's 911 call is just the latest in a documented pattern." Ethan flipped through the pages, Dorothy's audit, the PI files, 17 false complaints. His expression hardened. "Mrs. Whitaker, filing false police reports is a felony. Especially with this pattern." Karen's voice cracked into pure panic. "This is a setup. They're conspiring against me. Arrest them." The reporter's camera clicked nonstop. Ethan pulled out his cuffs with calm efficiency. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for filing a false police report. You have the right to remain silent." The sound of those cuffs clicking was the sweetest music Oak Ridge Meadows had heard in years. Karen Whitaker, Queen of the clipboard, terror of the cul-de-sac, was walked out in handcuffs past every neighbor she'd spent months trying to break. The Range Rover sat silent in the lot while the patrol cars pulled away. The weeks after felt like the whole neighborhood woke up from a bad dream. Karen was charged with multiple felonies, false reports, harassment, fraud. Bradley faced barred disciplinary action and lost every HOA contract. Their house went on the market 6 months later. We elected a new board with Dorothy as president and Linda as treasurer. All fraudulent fines were refunded, $23,000 back to residents with formal apologies. My fence stayed. My lights stayed. Buddy roamed free. We held a unity barbecue in my backyard. 38 families showed up. Burgers grilling, kids laughing, Buddy chasing fireflies like he'd never been accused of being a menace. Jerry from down the street brought native plant starters. Someone started a tool share program. The lending library replaced Karen's old violation box. For the first time, the neighborhood felt like the one Emily had dreamed of. 6 months later, Dorothy and I started dating. Slow, careful, both of us carrying old scars, but finding new comfort together. The board created the Emily Harlan Memorial Scholarship using money saved from honest management. 3 local kids got help their first year. I started teaching electrical safety at the high school. Ethan ran community safety days with the department. No more false reports. Just neighbors looking out for each other. Karen pled guilty and got 6 months, 2 years probation, for 100 hours community service, and a lifetime ban from any HOA board. 3 other neighborhoods came forward with the same story once the newspaper ran the piece. Turns out she'd been running this scam for over a decade, always leaving before anyone organized. The old management company settled for $125,000 after our evidence helped prosecutors build bigger cases. Walking the streets now, you hear kids playing, block party laughter, gardens blooming with native flowers that actually belong here. The click of designer heels is gone, replaced by the sound of people talking to each other again. My union years taught me ordinary folks can topple corrupt systems when they document everything, stick together, and refuse to be bullied. Karen's biggest mistake was thinking a clipboard and a bad attitude made her untouchable. So here's the question that keeps me up at night, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments. Was Karen Whitaker the villain or just another concerned citizen doing her job? Was she enforcing rules or running a criminal enterprise? And most important, if your HOA president started weaponizing police and city services against you for following the rules, how far would you go before you fought back? Drop your answer below. Are you team Karen was right or team justice served? Let's settle this once and for all, because next time it could be your fence, your lights, your dog, or your life.